guys, Melissa here with TCT Crafts. How are you guys doing today? We are going to make a Valentine's design. So it is that time of season where we start working on Valentine's and Mardi Gras, St. Patrick's Day, and before you know it, Easter. So we're going to do another Valentine's Day design. I'm going to start at the very beginning. So if you guys are new to my channel or page, welcome. And we're just going to get started. I am going to use a 24-inch pine wreath base. For those of you that are new, these are my favorite bases to use. So if you're thinking, well, those look like Christmas bases, I use them all year long. So they're going to get covered up. You're not going to really see the pine, so we don't have to worry about that. So let's get started. I use these, again, like I said, I use these all year. These are my favorite wreath bases to use. So I'm going to start with some leftover 21-inch mesh that I have. It's a red. It's got a little bit of a silver to it, but the color's not going to matter so much. I'm just going to trim this and make it kind of straight. Because like I said, by the time we get done adding all of our stuff, the mesh is really just a filler. So I'm just going to drop my mesh to the floor, and there's not a whole lot left on this roll, so we're just going to use what we have. Just going to scrunch it up, get like a little fist. And what I'm going to do, since I only have a little bit of this, is on this wreath base there are it's a two ring. So there's an inner ring and an outer ring. So what I'm going to do is in the middle, so if you see how I separate, and you can see that gap right there, in the middle of the two rings, I'm going to take a tie from the top ring and a tie from the bottom ring, and I'm going to tie this 21-inch mesh. So we're basically just going to go around the center, just because I only have a little bit of this 21-inch mesh left, and then we'll use our 10-inch mesh to go in and fill around the sides and on the inside. So let's see how much. Hopefully we've got enough. We should have enough to go all the way around it. So I'm not measuring. I'm just kind of pulling it a little bit. Probably about this, a little bit bigger than my hand. And I'm just finding, again, I'm finding one of those ties from the top ring and a tie from the bottom ring. And I'm just tying it in. So it's making this little poof. Okay, let's do it again. Just gathering it. Okay, making a little, you don't want it super tight because we want to have this little poof here. So I take the two ties and just tie it. They don't have to be exact, but you want to try to get them fairly close in size. Okay. So we're just going to go all the way around the center. Looks like we're going to have just enough. Just perfect. This is a good way to kind of use up some of the leftover 21-inch mesh that you have when you just have a little bit. Just kind of go around the center with it, and then you can fill it the rest in with your 10-inch. Okay, I'm going to keep this roll. You'd be surprised with how many different craft ideas come with these little things. So I always keep those. Just never know what you might need it for. and we are back to where we started. So I'm just going to make my last loop and tie it in kind of right where we started. I'm going to untie it and just tuck it down in there. And I'm just going to cut it short, right down, and I'll chunk that. Okay, so now we've gone just all the way around the center with our 21-inch mesh, and we've used that up. Now I'm going to go in with two different colors of 10-inch mesh. So I'm going to use this kind of darker red, almost like a burgundy color, and then this red and white. Our sign that we're going to use in this design is this new sign that we have in the shop. And it has kind of this darker red glitter in the center and then a little bit lighter red on the outside. So I thought I'd bring in, the two different colors. Again, the mesh is not going to get seen that much just because we're going to be covering a lot of this up. So now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to cut my mesh up. I do not measure. If you want to use a rotary cutter and measure, you definitely can. You can just grab your cutter, get you a mat, measure out probably 18 to 20 inches, and you can definitely use the rotary cutter. That is how I started. But now I just find it easier just to drop it to the floor. I pull it up and cut sort of in the middle, close to my belly button. Again, I don't measure it. So I'm just going to cut as many as we can get out of this leftover roll. Okay, and I have a laundry basket that I keep on the side, so I'm just going to put these in here, just kind of keep them out of my way. Okay, I'm going to keep this roll. We're going to do the same thing with the red and white. I'm going to drop it to the floor, pull and cut. Now this is a full roll, so we'll get more out of this one. But I'm trying to think if I want to cut it all up or wait and see. Let me cut a few more pieces, and then I'll stop. If we need more, we can cut more. Okay, we'll stop there. We have probably half a roll, so if we need more, we can cut more. Okay, so now how I roll this up. I put it on my chest and I just roll the ends in. This just helps keep the fraying down because all mesh is going to fray where you cut it. So if you roll it in on itself, it keeps the fraying down. And then I just kind of walk it together and make a little curl. That's how I do it. You can do it on the table. Same concept. Roll the ends in. Scrunch it, roll the ends in, and now you have a little ruffle. However you prefer to roll your mesh, you can do this method too, where you just scrunch it all the way up, like that. I just prefer to have my ends rolled in, so this is how I do it. Okay, so we're going to start around the outside. And we're just going to go around and tie the mesh in. And I think since I have more of this than the other color, I'm just going to alternate. So I'm going to do 2 and then one of the other colors. Because we have more of this color than we do the other one. So I want to make sure we have enough of the other one to go around. Okay, so I did 2 colors there. And I'm going to use one of the darker colors. And I am pushing this mesh all the way in to that frame and giving it a good tie. We want to push it all the way in so your mesh isn't falling out. Okay. So we're just going to keep doing this all the way around. So if you know how to put mesh in or you have your own method, you can fast forward. This is the part that always takes the longest and is the most boring for me. Some people may like it, but I just find it boring. Okay, so I did 2 more. So now I'm going to go in with the darker. So I'm basically doing a 2-1 pattern. If I had more of this, I would do every other color, but I want to use up some of these rolls that I have half empty. So I'm trying to clear out some more space. Okay. So I'm pushing that all the way down to that frame and then tying it tight. Okay. I don't typically sell too many Valentines in my shop, a few, so we'll be making a couple new ones this season, but not too many. I typically sell more Mardi Gras than I do Valentine's. I guess it just depends on maybe the part of the country that you live in. So down here in the South, we have more people that will buy, and we're close to Louisiana too, so that helps. Okay. I think we are definitely going to have to cut up some more red because we are about halfway. We only have a couple pieces left, but let's just keep going. I'm going to keep this one pretty traditional red-white. One of the ribbons we're using has just a touch of pink in it, but so I was kind of waffling on whether or not I wanted to try to bring some pink into this design, but I think I'm just going to stick with just a red and white sort of glam looking design. I'm not going to bring in the pink this time, but you'll see when we pull the ribbon. I'll show you kind of my thought process of why I thought about maybe pulling in some pink. So you definitely could, if you have some pink Valentine's items and you want to kind of follow the same recipe, you can definitely add pink to it because the ribbon has some pink in it. I'm just going to keep it more red and white. Okay, let's go ahead and cut up the rest of this because we are going to need all of it. And since that first roll is only a half a roll, we might end up even needing a little bit more of this, but we'll see. We'll see what we can make work. Because we're going to have to fill a little bit on the inside. Not too much, because we're going to have our sign and our bow and some other things kind of covering that up, but we do want to cover some of it. And I give it about 2 good twists is about what I do. You don't have to over twist it. It's going to stay in there. And by the time we get ready to add the ribbons, we're usually sometimes using the same ties, so it's just easier to have 2 twists. I may have to go get another roll of this. We'll see. I'm crossing my fingers. Crossing my fingers. We definitely have enough to get around the outside. I just don't know that we're going to have enough to get any of the inside covered. I may have to dig in my basket over here and see if I have another red that I can just use for the inside, because I really don't want to open another roll unless we have to. We are almost where we started. I think good there. Okay, so let's use the pieces we have. I have 4 pieces, so let's just kind of 1, 2, 3, 4, see what we can work out here. And we're going to push this together and make it more of an oval shape. So I'm hoping that will kind of help as well. Let me just look in my basket and see if I have any. This red, since this is going on the inside and it's going to be covered by the sign, you can't really tell that it's different, so I'm going to go ahead and use it. These are good places to use your scraps because it's going to get covered by your ribbon, bow, your ribbons and bows and signs and all the stuff you're going to add. Let me see if I have another one. This red. Okay, we made it work. I think we're good. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take and sort of push down. Not too hard. I don't want to pop that frame. But I'm sort of pushing down on it, making it more of an oval shape. And by doing that, you can see we are filling in that center. Okay. I think that's good. So here is our base. You can see we've got some pretty good coverage. We've got a few little green spots, but by the time we add our ribbons and stuff, I think we're going to be good. Okay. Let's start with our sign. So we're going to use this heart sign. This is a new one in our shop. I will have all of the supplies listed in the description of the video. So if you're looking for these particular SKU numbers, just go check out the description and I will have all the supplies listed. So this sign already has a little wall hanger, so you could hang it if you wanted to. So I'm going to use that for one of my ties, and then I added a little cable tie mount right here, and I'll link the cable tie mounts as well. I get these off Amazon, but pretty much anywhere probably has them. Any of your hardware stores, Walmart probably has them. So I'm going to use those two places. And I'm just going to take and wrap a pipe cleaner around. And then I like to add just a tab of glue onto my pipe cleaner. Well, that's drying a second because I don't want to stick my hands on it. Let's open. We are going to use, you guys remember these jewels? These jewel ornaments from Christmas time, if you have any of them left. We're going to use a couple of these. I'm going to get them out of the bag. These ornaments they come in so many different colors. They're really good to use throughout the seasons, the different seasons. So we're going to use 2 red ones. Where we want to put our sign. So I'm thinking I typically like to go top right. That's just kind of where I typically go. So I think we're going to do top right and then sort of get our jewel placement, like one in this area, one over here down like this. We'll put a pretty bow right here, ribbon tails. I like that. Okay. So put these back. Let's get our sign into position. So I'm going to go, so this was center. You could put it in the center if you want to. I do typically up above center. So the point of the sign is actually right in that hole. So it's sitting up a little higher. So it's not right in the center. So that's how I'm doing mine. So I'm going to feed this pipe cleaner down through the mesh. Same thing on this one. Okay, and then I'm going to tie it in the back around that wire frame. Okay, let me clip it. And then I'm going to add just a dab of glue right on top of that pipe cleaner where I tied it to the frame. Okay, so now we have our sign attached. I think I'm going to wait on adding these until, let's make our bow. We know our bow is going to sit like right in this area, so I'm going to make the bow first, and then we can place our jewel ornaments on either side of it. So what I'm doing, this design is all about using a lot of leftovers that I have. So I have a bunch of this red ribbon from a couple designs that I used, and these are like the pieces that were left from the roll. So we're going to utilize them in this design. I'm going to try to use up some of these. So it's not enough to make like a bow. They're more like tail length, but we're going to use it in our bow. We'll just use like one loop. It'll be like a single loop this way, a single loop that way. We're going to make it work. I'll show you. So I'm going to set this to the side. And I'm going to get our bow maker here. So let's see. I want about a 6.5 inch loop. So we're going to go I'm going to twist this one so we have our tails going pretty side up. Okay, and we have a loop that way with tails. Let's do a loop twisting so that that is on pretty side. Let's do a loop this way. Again, about 6.5. Don't worry about the length of this. We're going to cut this down once it's on the wreath. So I just used 2 pieces and made it look like a bow. 6.5, 6.5. So we're good. So I just took 2 pieces and made it look like a bow. By going one on one side, one on the other side. We're still going to use these for tails. I'm going to add in some of this white. Let's see. Just going to twist it. I'm going to come in a little bit smaller, so about 6 inches. About 6 inches. And I think I want to put this tail up. And now we're going to go in with our Valentine heart ribbon. So this is the ribbon I was talking about. It has a little bit of pink. I don't know if you can see it. There's a little bit of pink. So if you wanted to bring in some pink, you definitely could. So this time we're going to do the tail this way. Since we have our white tail going this way, I want to do this tail going this way. And I'm going to go about 5.5 inches. So about 1/2 inch shorter than the white one. Twist. And about 5.5 on this side. I love this ribbon. It's nice and thick, so it's going to hold its shape nicely. Okay. So I'm going to get a zip tie to tie my bow off. You can use pipe cleaners if you prefer. I just prefer using a zip tie, so I'm going to just kind of gently slide that up so I can put the zip tie underneath it. I'm going to make it tight, but not too tight, because when I pull it up, I want to make sure that I wiggled it so it's right in the center. Now I'm going to take my pipe cleaner. Actually, before I do that, I'm going to take 2 and put together, just because it makes it easier to put it through the wreath sometimes if you've got a longer pipe cleaner. So now I have a longer pipe cleaner. I'm not trying to fish just a little piece through there. Okay, before I make it too tight, I just want to kind of straighten out my loops, making sure we don't have any ribbon that's like turned underneath. And then I will squeeze it tight and cut that off. And I think what I'm going to do, so I can put the bow maker away, I think I'm going to take a piece of this. See, I already have one. Let me grab it. So I did a multiple this season that used a lot of this ribbon, and so have so many of the little scraps left. So I'm just going to take and fold this onto itself and just wrap it around the center. And that just kind of cleans up our bow, makes that center nice and pretty. So let me tie this in the back and cut off the extra. And I'm going to add just a dab of glue there, just to keep it from coming untied. Okay. Now let's get our wreath base back. And we know we want our bow to sit up in this area. So I'm going to feed it through. Let's do this side. Feeding it through that mesh. And then I'm going to tie it off in the back. little bit of glue on the back of that tie. And there we go. Now let's take and dovetail our ends. So if you've never done a dovetail before, you're just going to take the two ribbons, the two outside pieces, and put them together. And then you're going to cut at a diagonal, and it gives you a little dovetail. I'm going to cut this white one down just a tiny bit more. Okay, we got our top pieces done. Now let's do the bottom tails. And I don't measure the tails either. I just kind of cut different. They're not all the same lengths. It's kind of that layered effect. Like when you get your hair layered. Okay. So now we have, let me show you, our pretty bow in there. It's pretty already. If you just like mesh wreaths, well, I can talk. If you just like mesh wreaths, this is really pretty. But if you guys know me, we're going to keep going. Okay, so before we add tails, let's go ahead and put our jewels in. So we know we want one sort of right in this area. And one over here. I just want to figure out how I want to position them. I'm thinking kind of diagonal, like sort of pointing towards the bow. This one obviously is a little higher. This one will be a little lower. I like that. I like that. Okay, so how we're going to put these in. I typically just glue them. I use Gorilla Glue and they have held, but I'm going to show you these do have a little hook. So we can take a pipe cleaner. Let me see if I have a red. It's not the same color, but I think we'll make it work. And let me turn this around. I'm going to tie this pipe cleaner through that little hole. And then we'll feed it through and we can tie it in the back as well. Now, before I do all that though, I want to go ahead and put glue all on the bottom here. And get it sort of tucked into place. I'm going to hold it for a second. And then once I get it tied, we'll add some more glue around the sides. But we're just going to, I fed that pipe cleaner through just like we did the sign. And then I'll just take and wrap it around this outer ring to tie it off. So I'm wrapping it around. I'm going to add a little bit of glue to the back of that pipe cleaner where I tied it, just so it doesn't come undone. It shouldn't, but it's just me being overly cautious. Okay, so now that I've got it tied in, we've got our glue. I'm going to go around the sides and just make sure that glue is touching that mesh. And this ornament is not going to go anywhere. watch your fingers. There is a shiny side and a dull side to these. I don't know if you can tell on the camera, but so make sure when you're putting them in that you're using the shiny side up. A little bit of glue got on here. I'll have to pick it off when it gets dry. Okay. So this one's going to sit kind of right in this area right here. So again, I'm going to get my pipe cleaner. Just going to tie it. Feed it through, but not tie it yet. Okay, and then I'm going to lift this up and add a lot of glue. And we're going to just push that down in there. Hold it for a second, and then I'll tie it off in the back like we did the other one. I'll just pull that out. Oh. Okay, and I'm just tying it around the frame. Okay, and then adding just a little bit of glue back here. And we're going to go around the side. All right, so what do you guys think so far? Super pretty. Got our gems, our sign. You could definitely stop there, but we're going to keep going. So now I'm going to go back and I'm going to add some more ribbons all the way around. I think up here, let's do like a little half bow. So let me find one of my longer scrap pieces. Okay, all I did was I'm just taking and pinching it right there in the center. Now I have like a little loop. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to pinch it in the center. Pinch it and twist. This white one is a little bit bigger, so let me pull it down just a hair. And same thing with this one. Pinch it in the middle. I did not get enough pipe cleaner out. So now I'm just going to take and tie the pipe cleaner around it. And then we're going to use a pine tie to hold it in. Let me see where I want it. Kind of want it up to the side of this part. I'm going to take, there's some pine ties right here to the side. I'm just going to take and twist it around. And I'm going to pull these tails to the top. Okay. Dovetail. Let me make this one a little shorter. Now I'm going to cut dovetail the ones at the top. I'm cutting these a little shorter. We don't want our tails up here looking like antennas. We want them up, but not like having a party. Okay. So let me look at it. Yeah, that's pretty. Okay. So now I'm just going to start going around the sides, and we're just going to start adding some tails. We'll alternate. So we'll take one of the red pieces, and I'll layer the heart ribbon on it. I don't measure. I just, you guys can see, I just sort of pinch it. I'll find me a pine tie in here, twist, and then just pull the ribbon out to kind of where I want it to stop, and then I cut it. And then I'll just dovetail. Okay. And now let's add a white in there. Go back to our red. So we're using up all these little scraps. They were just the end of the roll that I couldn't quite make another bow loop in the bow that I was making, so I just saved all the pieces because I knew they would be perfect as tails. Okay. Trying to see if I want to add now, mix it up and do a red and white. Yeah, let's do it. So I am pushing this ribbon all the way up to that frame and tying it off. We want it nice and tight in there so that it's not, your ribbon's not like flopping on the outside of your wreath. So it's pushed up in there nice and tight. And I'm cutting the tails so that it's just a little bit longer than the mesh, but not too much. We don't want it sticking way out too far. Okay. So I'm just going to keep going around. So this time, let's just add a plain red. So I'm just kind of alternating. We did a red with a heart. We did a plain white. We did red with a heart. Now we did white and red. Now I'm just going to do a plain red in here. And then we'll go back to a red with a heart. So I'm just kind of alternating. There's no, you do it however you like. There's no like rule in designing, right? So just kind of mixing it up. Okay, so now let's do a red with our hearts again, and then we'll do a plain white. We'll just kind of keep that pattern going. I'm just going all the way around the outside, pushing this ribbon up into the frame as much as I can and tying it off with those pine ties. Okay, so now we're going to do a plain white like we did up there. I'm going to go right up underneath this bow. Okay, and then next to our plain white, we did another red and heart, so let's do that. And then we'll go in with the red and white again. Okay, now let's go in with the red and the white. Let's see, I think that piece is going to be too small. I'm just giving these a dovetail. We're just going to go all the way around back till we get to this little half bow that we did. Okay. Then we went in with the plain red. I think that piece is going to be too short, so let's do this one. this one just a tiny bit shorter. Okay. Then let's see, I think we're back to our red and hearts. And this will be our last one because we're back to this little half tail. Okay, put that aside. I think that's probably all the ribbon we'll use. Cut our dovetails. We do have the ribbon, this ribbon in the shop. I think we may not have the white one, but we do have the red glitter and the Valentine's heart. We do have that. Or at the time of the video, we did anyway. Okay, so this is what we have so far. Super pretty. We've got our tails all the way around. We've got our sign. We've got the jewels. So now we're going to add just the last little pieces, some filler. So I brought some of these little hearts we'll tuck in, but we're going to save these for last. And I'm going to take those little ribbons off. And then I have some of these these are leftover. Again, keep your leftovers. These are some little leftover ball ornament pieces. We're going to tuck these in. And then I have some of this white glitter spray that we're going to cut up and tuck it in as well. So I think I want to start with this. So we're going to start with the white glitter cedar spray. And we're going to take in this, you can get lots of little pieces out of. So I'm just going to pull these. So when you see picks like this, if you're new at doing this, you don't have to keep them together. You can cut them up. I know when I first started, I didn't really realize that, and I was trying to figure out how am I going to use this whole pick in something. But you can cut it up. So I know we're going to at least use 2. So let me cut up another one. I brought 3 just in case, but let's start with 2 and go from there. Okay. Now we're just going to go all the way around, tuck these in. I know I want one kind of right up under the bow. So I want it kind of up under the bow. So let's go ahead and dip it in my glue. I'm going to tuck it right up in there. So that one's on that side, and I want to do another one on this side. So I'm making sure it touches that pine in there. And let's do one on this side of the bow. So it's kind of just creating a frame a little bit around our bow. And I think I probably want one coming out the top too, but we'll cut it down. Let's cut it down a little bit. So I'm going to use I'm going to take and make a smaller piece. So now we have two smaller pieces that we can use to kind of come up out of the bow like that. Perfect. Okay. Now I'm just using the pine that is visible, and I'm pushing this down in that pine so that it's attaching nicely, and I'm pushing it as far as I can get in there. So like, again, we don't want, like, you don't want something hanging way out over here, so I'm pushing it down into that wreath. Just gonna go all the way around. We're going to go up underneath the sign. And I may have to, we'll see, when I hang it up, I may have to loosen the sign up a little bit. I don't want it to be like laying flat. So for now, I'm going to leave it when I hang it up. If it looks like it's off, I may just loosen that tie up. But for now, we're going to keep it like it is. I'm going to go right up underneath the center of the sign. And that's going to help kind of cover up some of this hole behind the sign. This one I'm just going to snip just a hair, give it a little haircut. So again, I'm just going all the way around the outside with this spray. Ooh, 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 we may have to cut up one more. So we're going to end up using 3. If you wanted to space them out a little further, you could get away with 2. If you wanted to try to keep the cost down a little bit, just space it out a little bit. I kept mine a little bit closer. So you definitely could space it out and get away with 2, because we're almost, I mean, we're right at the end here, but I'm going to go ahead and cut up. I think we'll only use like half, but we might have some pieces that when we hang it up, if we see any little spots, then we can use it as filler. Okay, so I'm just going to cut up half of it for now. think right up under the bow, I'm going to leave it a little bit longer just to create a little bit of length at the bottom. Okay, so we've got a few pieces that when we hang it up, if we need to go back. But here's what we have so far. How pretty is that? Gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous. Okay. So now we're going to go, I've got just a few throwing stuff around. I've got a few of these little clusters left. So we've got 1, 2, 3. We have 12 of them. So where I see a lot of the green pine still showing, I'm going to tuck in some of these little ball clusters. Keeping in mind that I only have 12, so I know typically about 6 on this side, 6 on that side. Let's put one right up here underneath this bow. And a smaller piece. I don't love how that one is in there, so I'm going to take a piece of this pine tie and just twist it around there. Just to give it a little extra security. And then I think what I'm going to do in that spot, since I'm here and I know I got a little hole I want to fill in, I'm just going to go ahead and add one of these little heart picks. Right, to kind of cover up that little spot. I know you guys can't see it, but there's like a little bald spot right here. I'm just going to take that heart and perfect. And that kind of covered that right up. Okay, so we're going to keep going with our little clusters. I'm going to do one right up here in the center underneath this sign. Just so I've noticed, I've done this myself and I'm trying to get better at it, is that I'll put the sign and then I'll forget to give love to the backside. And so it looks like all of this is decorated and then I have this sign. So I want to make sure I'm getting stuff coming up underneath out of the sign so that it's like, I don't know how to describe it, but it doesn't look like there's nothing going on here. So I'm making sure I get stuff back behind there too. It's more noticeable when you hang it up. So like when it's on the table, you don't really notice it. And then you go to hang it up and you're like, there's nothing going on back here. right, we are almost done with this, and then we will just take and add our hearts as our last little filler, and we will have a beautiful Valentine's Day design. Definitely has more of an elegant feel to it. I had originally, let me show you, I had originally pulled this ribbon to go with these hearts, and I was thinking let's add that, but to me this is a little bit more of a farmhouse country type theme with the check. And so I decided let's go with more of a glam look since we were using these really pretty jewels. I just felt like it probably still would have turned out beautiful, but I just felt like let's keep it a little bit more glam. So I did not use those hearts. I chose more of just the really shiny red hearts. So we went a little bit different direction, but that's kind of what I originally thought is I had those and then I changed my mind. And I think it turned out beautiful, if I do say so myself. Okay. Got one little berry cluster. So let's put it down here towards the bottom. Got a little pine that's showing right here. Perfect. So what we have so far, just gorgeous. So now I've just got a couple of these little heart picks. I'm going to take these little ribbons that came on it off. I say I'm going to take them off. This one's actually on there pretty good. Let's see if I can pull it off with my cutters. There we go. And then I'm just going to cut them down because we don't need them that long. I don't know if we have any more of these in the shop. We might have a few, but you can pretty much find these heart picks at Hobby Lobby, Walmart, Michael's. Oriental Trading may have some. Any type of red heart. Guess I should have taken this off before we started recording. That's okay. Okay. So we already added one in the bald spot, so that gives me 5 left. So I just want to see kind of where I want to position them. I'm thinking maybe up here out of the bow. Just want to make sure I have a good spot for it to adhere to. Go right there. I'm not going to glue that one in yet because I want to see. I know I want one right up in here. Probably right in this area. And then we need one at the top. Right there. I like that. Okay. So I'm going to go back and glue them in now. So they're just kind of tucked in there. They're not like really sticking out. They're just kind of tucked in there, covering up some of that green that was still showing. That one I actually glued in, so let me just add a little bit more glue because I messed with it. Okay, I think that's it. So I'm gonna go around and pick off all the little glue strings, and then I'll hang it up. If I see any spots, we still have a little bit of this white spray. I can cut it up and kind of tuck them in if I need to, but here's our design. Turned out beautiful. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Until next time, bye guys.